All right, I want to talk about tracking today. Um, it's hard to measure where you're at without tracking, and it's hard to see progress um, without tracking things. And the best thing about tracking is that you can kind of pinpoint what issues are, because if you track everything, um, and it's annoying, right? Let's be honest. But if you track everything, then and something isn't going correctly, you can say, well, maybe it's this because this was less last week than this past week, whatever. So three things that you should track if you want to have like your optimum results and cut down the time. Like you can just, it's like with supplements, right? You can just take up everything. You just buy everything and take everything, and maybe you're wasting your money, maybe you're not, maybe it's working for you, maybe not, who knows, right? The best thing to do is get your blood work done and see where you're at and get recommendations from a professional, or have somebody look at your results that's a professional, and then they can recommend what to take. And then you take that and you see if there's a difference, as opposed to just guessing, right? It's kind of the same thing with diet, exercise, and recovery. Now, with diet, with tracking, some people will talk about tracking your macros, like your proteins, fats, and carbs. When I coach people, I don't have them do that. I coach just to track your total calories for the day and your protein for the day. You want to have a protein minimum and a calorie maximum. That's how I look at it. Very, very simple. I think it's the best way to do it. I don't believe that your carb to fat ratio means as much as people like to think it does when it comes to building muscle or losing fat or whatever. I believe that it is total calorie equation more so. And then the fat to carb ratio is specific to the individual. So how do you do that? Well, you can get an app, you can, all that. I do use an app sometimes, but I honestly kind of prefer a notebook. And I track everything in one notebook. That seems to be traditionally the best way for me to do it. Is I wake up, I write what's going on that day, whatever, I put my food down. I have one column for food, one for total calories, one for total protein. And then I check the app, or I Google certain things, or I read labels or whatever I'm eating that day, and I write it all down. At first, it is a little bit on the time-consuming side, but once you do it, once you start writing things down, especially if you eat the same things every day, you just plug it in, and you can go back a couple pages and go, oh yeah, 3 eggs is 210 calories and 21 grams of protein, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of know it becomes a lot faster. And what I like to do is I wake up and I would write down what I'm eating that whole day, because I kind of know what I'm eating that day. And if you plan it that way, you can see it on the paper, and you're less likely to go outside of that plan. And if you have a day where you know you're going to eat out that night, you plug that in first, and you see how many calories that is, and then you kind of backfill your day. So if you have a day where you're going to have a cheat meal, you're going to have some pizza with your wife or whatever, you can go, okay, I'm going to have this many pieces of pizza roughly. You write it down. And even if it's like, does it have to be perfect? Does it have to be exact? It helps for sure to be exact, and it's definitely more accurate, but an estimate is probably fine, right? A pound of fat is like, 3,000 calories or something, is a pound of fat. So, is it that big, or 3,500 or something? I don't even remember what it is, but it doesn't matter. So it's like, that's a lot of extra calories, right? And that's only 1 pound. Like, who's woken up? If you woke up and you were supposed to be 180 and you're 181, would you be like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. I can't believe I'm overweight. So we kind of overdo it sometimes, but it's what the problem is that when you don't care, when you have that attitude every single day, every single meal, that's when you get to be really big. So track your food, use an app, or just pen and paper. I think pen and paper is great because you actually learn. By writing down, you actually remember and learn the foods, and you Google it and you remember what it says and you put it down. And you can even do like a ledger. Like at one point I took a couple hours and I just went through and wrote down all these different foods that I consistently eat in amounts, and I put them down. I have like a certain amount of protein I want per meal. So I go, okay, this many ounces of whatever chicken is this, or this many eggs is this, or whatever I was doing at the time. The other thing to track is your strength, especially if you're losing weight or gaining weight, you want to monitor your strength and monitor your at least a couple of lifts to see where you want to make sure that you're progressing. If you're losing weight intentionally, if you track a couple lifts and you're going to see that you'll get to a point where you kind of plateau. So as you're losing weight and you're gaining strength for a while, at some point they intersect and then you kind of plateau. And that's when you want to take a step back, maybe alter your diet, maybe take a week off from training or whatever. There's things that you can do, but you have to track them. If you're just not sure where you're at each week, then you don't really know if you're progressing or not. And when you're losing weight, you want to be trying to add muscle. You want to be training to add muscle while you lose weight. And what will happen is you might not gain muscle, but you'll retain what you have. And if you eat the right amount of food, so not too much of a deficit, you will maintain a ton of that strength. So tracking your lifts are very important. Now, if you, let's say that you do a lot of like isometrics, that's kind of hard to track. Certain things are kind of hard to track, right? But pick a couple exercises, even if it's just like push-ups and pull-ups or something. Now, there's obviously a skill component there, and you get better at doing them. So yes, you do. Anything that has a skill to it you're going to increase as you get better at it. But there is a strength component as well, and you want to just kind of monitor that and see how until you hit that plateau. And the third thing that you want to track. I'm going to go fourth. The other thing that you want to track for is a body weight. Oh shit, there's a big accident up here. That's not good. Snowy drives on the highway. This sort of thing does happen from time to time. Looks like a guy ripped the whole front of his car off. Looks like everybody's okay. I don't think I need to stop. So the other thing that you want to track is your weight. Now, if you are not in that's a nasty one. Woo. Put your snow tires on, kids. Don't follow too closely, kids. Your body weight. Now, when I say your body weight, there's a couple things that some people, when I tell people to weigh yourself every day, some people think that that's overkill or that's obsessive or whatever. And that's not the point. The point is that if you're doing something over the course of a couple months, let's say that you're doing my 12-week program, starts in January. Where's my finger? Starts in January. 12-week program. You're doing things over a long period of time, so you want to you want to monitor your weight week to week. So the thing that people don't understand is that you don't just if you weigh yourself when you're 180 and the next day you weigh yourself when you're 176, you didn't actually lose 4 pounds of fat or 4 pounds of muscle. It's water, right? Mostly it's water. You lose actual fat or muscle over the course of time. So what you need to do is if you weigh yourself every day, you take your 7-day average on the 7th day. So you weigh 178, 176, 179, 181, 177, whatever, and then you take the average of that. That's what you actually weigh, okay? Now, if you're not in let's say a sport like jiu-jitsu that you have to be at a certain weight for to compete, if you don't care about that, your body weight goal shouldn't matter as much. It should be more based on how you look, how you feel, so on and so forth. But you use the scale to judge if you're losing the correct amount of weight. Because you don't want to lose too much weight too quickly because you will lose muscle. You want to lose weight slowly over time. You want to lose like maybe a half a pound or a pound or 2 pounds a week. Obviously, if you're morbidly obese, this is a little bit different. This is a different process, but slightly different process. But if you're just a little bit overweight, you want to trim down for the summer, you don't want to do it too quickly. You want to retain your muscle as you lose fat. And the best way to do that is to track your body weight every day and weigh yourself and then take the 7-day average, and that is your true body weight. So wake up, start your ledger, write down your food, write down your weigh yourself at the same time every day. I would suggest in the morning, maybe post bathroom activities. I would say weigh yourself then, maybe before you eat your first meal or after you eat your first meal. It doesn't really matter, but you want to make sure it's when you weigh yourself, it's always under the same conditions at the same time of day, roughly. Okay. Now the last thing to track is sleep. and it's so ignored in the fitness space, and I think it's really, really, really important. Now, the one thing that I think holds me apart from a lot of different coaches is that I am a real dude. I'm a regular, hardworking father and husband. I work a full-time job, 9 to 5, which I'm heading to right now. I have a wife, I have 2 children, I have a mortgage, I coach jiu-jitsu, I coach people in diet and exercise, like online training, and I am a real guy. I'm not rich in the sense of financially, so I don't have a ton of amenities like a lot of people, and I'm not a 20-year-old kid who lives at home who's just diced naturally. I have to work for everything that I have, and so I understand that to people in my situation, 8 hours of sleep a night is just not possible a lot of times. And that's not the point of this. The point of this is to track your sleep. So last night I had about 6.5 hours of sleep. Okay? Is that ideal? No, ideal would be about 7 for me, a little over 7. But you want to look at, there's 2 aspects of sleep, quality and quantity. Okay? So obviously quantity is the one that you can really measure. Now there are machines out there that you can measure. My buddy Mikey's got a crazy, some sort of apparatus that's like a bed that tells him what temperature he is and heartbeats and all kinds of cool stuff. And if you could track your sleep that way, that would be probably a great thing. I just don't think that, it's not that it's not necessary, it's just that it's you don't have to have that to track your sleep. Just write your sleep down. Wake up in the morning, write down your sleep, how many hours, write your weight down, draw out your thing for your food, and then maybe plan your exercise the next page, or whatever it is that you're doing. If you do this, if you do with sleep, what will happen if you track it is you'll see that if something falls under performance and you go, why was my bench press not as much this week as it was last week? Everything on my lifts are going down, but I'm eating the right amount. I feel like I shouldn't. I don't understand it. Then you look and you've only had 4 hours of sleep average because of whatever was going on. Or your sleep was, maybe you slept for the normal amount, 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever, but you're up a lot at night because you're stressed out. These things play a huge factor in the rest of your health. Training, diet, and recovery, those 3 will affect each other. Your recovery will be impacted by your food, and your food impacts your recovery, and your exercise impacts your nutrition, and nutrition impacts your everything. Everything is intermingles with each other. So track your sleep, and then you can have a better idea where you're at. So if you start to see certain, even with you start to increase the food, and you're like, I should be lifting more, and it's like, I'm not gaining weight fast enough. It's like, well, you only sleep 5 hours a night. You wake up and do cardio and stuff, right? Famous Dan Efferding quote: if you're waking up at 5 a.m. to do fasted cardio, and you're cutting your sleep short, you're stepping over $100 bills to pick up nickels. It's a great analogy, because you get more muscle gain from sleep than you do from than you would getting fat loss from cardio in the morning. So anyways, track your food, track your sleep, track your body weight, track your exercise in the sense that you're trying to see if you're progressing with lifts. And it will give you a better vision of where you need to move things around, right? It's really hard to measure what you don't track, okay? So anyways, that's the video today. Peace.